Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes. Get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Today, it was so much of the outside. It was my sister's birthday today. We all went out for breakfast, large group of us. My sister was scheduled to go into the hospital on Friday for a quadruple heart bypass, but emergency came up and somebody else is taking that spot, so she's back on the waiting list. But everybody for her birthday came out and we had breakfast together. It was really, I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit nervous in that because, especially in the past few years, I have not been a super social person in my personal life. And, I don't mind those small groups, but those big groups, oh my goodness. But it really was heartwarming to see how many people, that my sister has in her life that truly care for her. And it was really nice. And it's important because, these are important times in my family's life where we have no control. We really don't have any say. We just get to ride those waves the best that we can. After our breakfast, we said all our goodbyes, and my sisters they like to gamble a little bit, and if you've hung out with me for any length of time, you know that I don't gamble. I don't even do lottery tickets. I don't even do the 50-50 raffles. Sometimes I'll donate to a cause instead of, gambling in any way. But, it's something I haven't done and I am so grateful because gambling truly ruined my life. It ruined my marriage. It ruined out any possibilities to be financially secure, to own property, to advance in any way. Because, when we are stuck in addictions, we put everything we have into those addictions because they're the most important thing. It's really sad that I say that because, in my heart, the most important thing in my life was my marriage. And I didn't give it a thought. I just went straight ahead. And in those coping mechanism of being a married lady, this is what I feel that it was because it was something that I never thought was going to be a possibility for myself. Uh, Throughout my life, there were lots of conversations. Well, I'm calling them conversations, but they were pretty much directed at me. They weren't a two-way conversation, but in those insights that were directed at me, it was made quite clear that there wasn't going to be much in the way of hope that something amazing. I'm smiling in this moment because it seems like every time I go live, those fire engines are going off. They're not coming in my direction tonight, but I'm still going to send some good cheer that they get to their destination, find out it's a false alarm, and head right back to the station. But for myself, I never really truly believed that that was a possibility, marriage, home, babies. I had pretty much accepted in my life that, these were not going to be things that I was going to get to have. I wasn't going to get to experience these things. And, I really did believe that my life through my own choices, I made some really, I have no idea, but I made some decisions that kind of sorted me out for a while. Wasn't permanent, right? Because I didn't have those tools to keep anything solid in my life. But there was a period in my life where, right, I lost a great deal of weight. my entire persona just switched on like a light bulb, and joy and fun and happiness and right, these feelings of truly being a beautiful person in some ways, that all manifested in my late 20s. And in that time, I found my husband. But, as much as I loved him, it was very scary for me because, I didn't have those kind of experiences. I didn't have romantic experiences in my life. And when it happened, I felt like Cinderella, but at the same time, I was so frightened and I was so scared. And right, and we find coping mechanisms in our life when things are not going well, or when we put ourselves in those periods of high stress, that we can really do a lot of detrimental damage to our lives. And I picked gambling. Me and my soon to be husband, I wasn't even married at the time, we were engaged. My husband was in the military, came home from tour, and we went for a month or so to the East Coast to do some traveling on the East Coast of Canada, and to visit his family so he can introduce me to his family and his friends. And it was very overwhelming. And I think somewheres in the back of my mind, I knew that, right, because it had been programmed into me that it was going to be something that was going to be temporary, that it was something that I wasn't really going to be able to hold on to. But my husband was so good at convincing me otherwise. And because I'm highly sensitive and I'm empathic, I felt it too, right? That he was true and he was honest, and right. And I just thought, how did I ever get so lucky? But in my own self doubt, right, I was coping. I found ways to cope with the scariness of being a married lady. And it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But again, somewhere's in the back of my mind, I just knew that I could not hold on to it. And I found gambling, and these are addictions. And for you it might be something else, because we can get addicted to almost anything out there. And I believe that we all have addictions. I call them handicaps, right? Because even in our handicaps, even if they're physical handicaps, we find ways to cope with that situation that we're in. And I was always in and out of addictions, so many of them: smoking, crunching ice, addicted to cough drops, gambling. There were lots, so many that picking my skin as a teenager. I had really bad acne, and being so self conscious of the person that I was, like I just made a mess of my skin. It was well into my 40s before I realized that I actually did myself a service in doing facials. That's what they were. I didn't understand what facials were, but I was constantly scrubbing my face and cleaning my pores. And I would spend, oh my goodness, at least an hour every single day as a teenager and as a young adult. And it wasn't till I gave up makeup, and that took a little bit of courage for me. But I gave up makeup, and I gave up the makeup when I started on my YouTube channel. And at first, I just did it because, right, it was fast and quick, and I was behind the camera, and nobody was seeing me. But after a while, I got comfortable with the way that I looked. I actually thought that I looked a whole lot better without the makeup than I did with the makeup. And yeah, it did so much. My skin cleared up, and I started feeling good about myself again. But in my marriage, right, and it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right? Because, I destroyed my marriage with that gambling. And and it was nothing that I could truly do about it because I was clinging to those addictions for my life because I really felt like they were saving my life. They were helping me to cope with the problems within my marriage. I mean, there wasn't any problems in my marriage. I created those problems in the gambling and in that, right, keeping company with myself and not focusing on what was truly important to me. It took a lot of lessons, and it took crashing really, really hard and being able to accept myself for who I was and to forgive myself before forgiving anybody else in my life. Now, I don't know where I was going in that, but in saying that, I have to say, I came back and I watched a little bit of my live last night. I was so exhausted, I had to crash and go to bed, but I had to, right, go in just to see if it was decent enough just to leave it because I felt so out of it yesterday. And it wasn't that I had overexerted myself physically or mentally or anything, but I was truly, I went in and I couldn't even understand half. I see you there, Eugene. Hello, Eugene. I couldn't even understand my live yesterday. I couldn't understand the message I was trying to get through. And today, after I left for from breakfast with my family and my sister's friends, I decided to walk home, get a little bit of fresh air before I got home. Right, just feeling a little bit out of sorts, not feeling physically unwell, just out of sorts a little bit. Right, and I came home and I just piddled around, not really doing anything, washed a few dishes, and then I sat down and I thought, oh, maybe I'll just stay in the documentaries today, or maybe I'll just stay in metal detecting and adventure videos and just keep the content light today. And I said, no, I got to get outside. I need to go for a walk. And after walking home a couple of miles, right, I actually went out for a walk today. I walked an another 5 hours. I walked for 5 hours. I probably put 10, 12 miles in today. Um, and I came home and I kind of thought, why did you do that, Cindy? Like, I didn't feel physically tired in that or anything. I really enjoy walking and right. And I felt great when I actually came home. But the idea was for me to come in, do my live, just stay up for maybe an hour and then get a good night sleep and see if I could recuperate in that way. Was feeling a little bit ditzy and a little bit concerned yesterday because right, I didn't understand. It was like I was talking in a different language in my live show. So I do have to apologize for that, but I didn't want to do that again tonight, right? And so I thought, oh, I'll go to bed early. But then again, I sat in and I just, right? I'm not even paying attention to the lessons in and out, listening to some music, right? Washing dishes, making dinner, playing with the cat, and again, just keeping it light, right? Keeping it light, but so grateful that I'm not looking for unhealthy ways to cope, right? That I actually thought to get outside and really go for a walk. I just kept company with myself, and I, right, enjoyed the scenery, enjoyed the fresh air, right? Oh, here comes the fire trucks. I live behind a fire station. Let's send some good cheer out there that they get to their destination. False alarm, turn around and head right back. Still haven't got quite used to the new siren. I don't know if all the fire trucks have got new sirens on them or just the trucks at this station, but they do catch me by surprise because they're in a higher pitch now, right? So I said, well, when I come in live tonight, because my cards are sitting right here, it says we're getting right into the card. We're getting right into the card. So we're going to go right into the card tonight. Sort of, kind of. We're not as right in as I thought I was going to be. But let's get right into the card. Just a few minutes tonight. And I think probably for the next few days, right? My sister's operation got canceled for Friday, but I have dentist appointment on Thursday. I don't even think I'm going to leave the house tomorrow. I think I'm just going to relax, take in my water, right? Do the laundry and just stay in the air conditioning. Last night I woke up, here I go again. Last night I woke up and I was freezing. I had the air conditioner just blowing on me and the cat. The cat just lays in front of the air conditioner. So the most part, she just blocks that cold air on me. But I woke up in the middle of the night and I had to put winter socks on my feet and a pair of pajama pants and right. And I went back to bed because I was just so cold. Tonight I put an extra blanket on the bed. So that will sort me out. But I think tonight that the plan is just to sleep the entire night. Have a good night's rest. And then we'll see how we feel tomorrow, right? That I come in and I'm able to come in and take the lesson for myself because I came in, I took that lesson. But I tell you, unless it was for the other parts of me, I didn't get much of it at all. I was totally exhausted. Okay, you guys, I'm feeling pretty good in this moment, but it is right after midnight now. So let's get in, take the card. I hope everybody's having an amazing day, amazing start to the week, and I hope as we move into the week a little bit further that we find that right things open up for us, that we are right really making some movement for ourselves, and we're feeling good about it. Right, for those of you who pop into my podcast tomorrow morning, right? I hope your day starts off good. And yeah, if you come in and you're actually listening to my podcast, that you understand, right, the topic of the day. So let's just get into the topic. If you've never popped into one of my lives before, I have 54 powerful words here. 56 cards, but two of those words, believe and acceptance, are in the deck twice. Um, right? As we come into the words, if we ever pick those words, and we will, uh, at that point, I will discuss why that word is in a second time. I haven't come across those two words yet as I'm shuffling them, but you never know when that day arrives. Okay, you guys, let's just pick a card. This is my prototype deck, and this is the working deck. I have another deck made, which will be for having them produced. The word we got today is experience, you guys. We got the word experience. Experience paired with attentions offers up gifts. 100%. The experience today, of going off for 5 hours. I should have been sore. I should have had a Charlie horse when I got home because I didn't have any fluids, right? Besides cup of coffee, a couple of cups of coffee at breakfast at my sister's birthday. Oh, and she loved the presents that I got her. So I was so pleased with that. But anyway, experience paired with attention offers up gifts. Lots of times, experiences that come across our paths all the time, but we're not paying attention to them. Today, specifically, I went out. I wasn't on my phone. I was just enjoying the birds and the trees. And I'd like to say fresh air, but we're right. We're from Manitoba, Canada, and we're dealing with wildfires right now. Um, but it's been super smoky, and yeah, but in that experience, I got to recognize that, I've been getting myself into physical shape, even though, right, maybe that super poundage isn't coming off, but it's the fact that I've been physically active for probably a good month now, and I've been back on my daily walks, and I'm actually paying attention and recognizing how much I really do love going for my walks, right? The lessons were important, and that's not an excuse, right? Because I just can't be on my phone and take lessons. I like big screen. I like to put it on pause when it's time to make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It's a cup of tea tonight. Um, but yeah, but lots of times we are out there and we don't pay attention, right? We're not paying attention. We're so inside our heads. We're so dealing with our problems that in that negativity, and that's what it is, right? Because when you're thinking about your problems and you're worrying and you're stressing, right? That the negative and that energy can come into us and just make it 100 times worse, or at the very least all that good stuff, right? All those amazing parts of us that make life so enjoyable, right? They don't surface. And in then not surfacing, right? It's just kind of like that, blah, right? And when you're out there and you're doing things that you love, right? I love lots of things, but lots of things that I love, I can't really do in the moment, right? Lost the car, can't get out on the road for the urban explorer and the country drives, but I do the very best that I can. And we started off by walking to one of the main parks in the city and walking along the river and paying attention. I pay attention to the banks and stuff because I'm always looking for spots for bottle digging and yeah, just appreciating ducks and fish jumping out of the river. That was really neat watching the fish just jump out of the river, and you actually get to visually see the fish that you just don't see the splatter. And I enjoyed it so much. And then I thought, oh, it's time for a cup of coffee. Let's go for a walk this way because I know there was a coffee shop a few miles away. So I started walking towards the coffee shop, which was a McDonald's, and they shut it down for renovation. So I thought, oh, well, then let's just walk up there. I know where there's a thrift store, and we'll go and right look around at the thrift store. And by this time I had already been out for like 4 hours, right? And then I thought, well, maybe we'll go visit my sister because she lived close by to that area and I was already in the area. And then I said, no, Cindy, time to get home because otherwise you're just going to have some serious Charlie horses. But I was feeling really, really good. And in that experience, because I was paying attention, I was recognizing how good I felt. I felt good physically. I felt good emotionally because I wasn't in a rush. I could have walked, seriously, I could have continued to walk at least a couple of more hours because I was enjoying it so much. And not only was I enjoying it, I was recognizing because I was paying attention that it actually was helping me to feel emotionally better. That actually, when I had gotten back into the apartment, I was like, like, right? But then I just got into making my dinner. And then after I had my dinner, and I changed my clothes and right, took in a few lessons, and the day settled settled in, and I was able to get a couple of things done, right? But it wasn't in that experience. And no matter what the experience was, right, I'm sure that I would have paid attention because it's something that I've been doing for a while. But, in this word, powerful word, experience, it is so important to bring up new experiences because new experiences offer up the opportunity to change our emotions, to maybe change in that experience that you go, oh my goodness, that was so amazing, I want to do that again. What I did today I could easily go off and do tomorrow, right? And I probably would have, but I said no. Tomorrow we're going to stay in tomorrow, and we're just going to relax. We're going to get some things done that we want to do, and we're going to get some things done what we need to do, right? What we have to do. And yeah, I really appreciated, you know, I love change. If you've hung out with me for any length of time, you know I've gone through a lot of change in the past half a dozen years or so. Let's just go back 10 years because I've been here on YouTube for 10 years and a lot of you guys have been with me oh, Hannah, I saw you last night, Hannah, and I didn't even get to say hi to you, and I didn't notice until I left last night. I'm so glad that I actually noticed that you're there tonight. Thank you so much. I knew you were here yesterday too. Eugene, what's Eugene's good cheer tonight? That you're doing good. That's absolutely amazing. I had a topic of discussion that I was going to come in with tonight, but because I wanted to get in, I had made that decision just to get right into the word. I didn't quite do it, but you know what? Tomorrow we'll give that another shot. Maybe tomorrow I'll be feeling so good that, I'm going to want to be here for an hour or so. You never know in the moment, right? Experience paired with attention offers up gifts, right? My country drives. Oh my goodness. The mountains, the lakes. And for each one of us, right, in our experience, if we're paying attention, those gifts, right? If you work at the gym and you're paying attention to the other people doing the bodybuilding, right? Some of those gifts might be better techniques in how you're going to lift the weights, how you're going to exercise, maybe the gym clothes that you're going to wear. Maybe in paying attention, that person is going to see that you're paying attention and it'll open up an opportunity to have a conversation, and maybe you'll gain a new friend, or right, be be offered maybe an opportunity to go on some kind of adventure. Now, I'm just using that as an analogy, but you know, anything that has our attention offers up an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for learning, something to experience different. And, if I hadn't been paying attention, and I always felt, that in my hypervigilance, right, that I was somebody who really did pay attention. But I find it very curious that being somebody who's so hypervigilant, who pays attention, that I miss so much, right, in that process of learning, right? But it only is in our choices to pay attention. And if we pay attention, there are gifts. 100%. There are gifts, right? Just like yesterday when I missed seeing Hannah come into the live, and just as I was shutting down the live, or when I came back in to review it, and I saw, oh my goodness, Hannah was here, and I didn't even see him. Like, And then I thought, oh, right, if he pops in again, I'm going to have to make sure that I say hello, that he notices that I paid attention in that, right? Maybe there's their little gift that he feels that I recognized him, that I didn't truly ignore him, right? Sometimes I get in these flows, and remember what I said? I came into my live show yesterday and I was, wow, I was really out of it. I was really, really out of it. But I didn't go for big walks. I went for a little walk yesterday, but I didn't go for big walks yesterday. But I got zapped. I got zapped anyway. And I don't think I've ever come into a live show that bad. And it was an experience for me. But because when I came back in and watched that live for myself, I said, oh my goodness, right? And there were lessons in that for me. There really, really, really was. Okay, you guys, experience paired with attention offers up gifts, right? Every moment we have an opportunity to have an experience, right? And we have experiences all the time. And sometimes those experiences are good experiences, and we remember the good experiences. We always remember the good experiences. But those bad experiences, those experiences that don't serve us well, like when I was talking about, when my husband took me to the East Coast, and we traveled the East Coast and talked a little bit about, my marriage and how it was a little bit uncomfortable. In the moment of that, I wasn't paying attention. And those years of my marriage, I'll never get those back. But you can be darn sure that from, say, 6 years ago, moving forward for the rest of my life, I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention to everything, right? But it is going to be in my choices whether or not to absorb it, or maybe just to understand it and let it go, or to really pay attention and really understand that that experience is, right, going to impact me, maybe for the short term, but maybe for the rest of my life. But because I paid attention to it, because, right, this is what I do moving forward, that there will be gifts in that. And, the gift for me today was to recognize that I was feeling pretty good, that it was the best decision that I could have done for myself when I came home from my outing with my sisters and her friends. That I knew that, right, we're going to spend some time outside today. And because I did that, I really believe that it served me well. I needed that connection to Mother Nature. And if you guys know me, I'm a bit of a tree hugger. I did quite a bit of it today, right? Sometimes I get a little bit self-conscious, right? That people are watching me do that tree hugging. Sometimes it's just walking by the tree and just holding my palm of my hand out. Sometimes I just stand there at the tree, leaning against it and talk to it a little bit, right? I believe it. The telluric energy is scientifically proven. Everything is energy, right? But there's a reason I have a connection to Mother Nature, right? It's something that's totally embodied in me. And again, it was a gift, and because I paid attention to it and I made it a part of my life, I made it a part of my day to day. And I suspect as long as I'm mobile, and I suspect because my good health, that, right, it will carry on for another 20, 30, 40 years. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh my goodness. They have over 100,000 people in Japan over 100 years now. Isn't that 100 years old? 100 years old, over 100,000, right? Japanese are over 100 years old now. How incredible is that? I don't know if any other country or continent can compete with that. And it makes you curious as to why, right? Because they have a lot of smog, a lot of, right, bad air, but they eat a lot of fish, right? A lot more fish than we do here in North America. Um, and I have no idea why it is. But I bet you if we actually study it, and I bet you there's people studying it, that we will know. If we don't know right away, somewhere's down the road, right? It will be revealed. And I suspect that I'm going to be pretty surprised because I can't think what that reason would be, right? Lots of vegetables, but they eat lots of rice, and right, rice is kind of a zero food. It doesn't offer anything that you can't get in something healthy, right? So it's going to be curious. I'm sure there's going to be studies, and we're going to hear about it. Also, when I say hear about that, oh my goodness, earthquake in Alaska today. And we got tsunami warnings going all down the west coast of North America, not just Canada, but North America, Washington, Oregon, California. Just trying to think what other states are is going to go all the way down these tsunami warnings. I don't know if any of them happened. I haven't been in the news since I heard, but oh, thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Eugene. Okay, you guys. Cindy is going to bed now. I'll come back into my live, see if I did any better tonight than I did last night. If I didn't, I'm not going to read too much into that. Uh, I will just come back and try again tomorrow, right? That's the case. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Hannah. I haven't seen you forever. Thank you so much for popping live.